Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So it has been a hot second since I have updated you guys on my fertility journey and where we are and all that. The last video I put up was my HSG. That came back completely normal. Everything was fine, which I knew it would be. I don't know how much of my journey I documented in that, but our twins are 2. They just turned 2 at the end of October. We did 7 rounds of IVF that failed with multiple miscarriages. We switched to a new clinic, did tests there, 1 cycle with 2 embryos, got pregnant. So I did my consult, which you can look back at the video. I did my HSG, and that's really all he had me do. And then we did what was called a mini IVF, which is what I did with the twins. And that is basically where you mock a retrieval. So you do the gonal F, you do the low dose HCG, you do the centrotide to stop ovulation, and they're just not getting as many eggs because you're not harvesting them. So you're growing follicles, and once you have a big enough follicle, they give you a trigger shot to make you ovulate, and then they transfer when your body would naturally be getting ready to implant a fertilized embryo. It really simulates getting pregnant naturally, which why wouldn't you want to do that? So we had 4 frozen embryos. We transferred just 1 this time. We didn't expect to get twins last time because we'd had so many failures. Super grateful for them. I think we totally could have done twins again, but we just weren't in that spot. 1 is fine. 1 is what we wanted. So we transferred 1, and we did that in the end of August. And then 10 days later, we went in for our blood test. So in those 10 days, normally I can tell if it worked or not, but I'm never 100% sure, so I never want to say anything. But I was definitely getting little symptoms here and there, and people say it might be too early, but if you've done IVF, it is not too early. You can definitely tell. So I was getting like tiny little weird feelings in my uterus, sore boobs, off and on random bouts of nausea, enough to make you think, did this actually work? So I was working at the hospital. I work a couple days a month. I stay home with my kids, and I'm a physical therapist. I work a couple days a month. And that was 10 days. It was a Saturday. And I got the call, and I always overanalyze my messages. So I never answer the phone. I always let them leave a message. And honestly, it's super fun. I like to look back. So I still have the messages saved from the twins. It's just super fun. And I kind of analyzed, I was like, ooh, it was only like 40 seconds long. This could be good, it could be bad, but the call came early. It was at 12:30. And I overanalyzed that too. Usually my clinic will call earlier in the day for positives and later in the day if it's bad news. But it's not always the case because my second blood test with the twins didn't come till like 3:30, and it was obviously good news. Anyway, I, on my phone, can get the transcript of the call. So I was in a meeting, and I was like, So after I was on my way to the cafeteria to get lunch, and I had kind of talked myself into, if it's bad news, it's okay. We never expected the first transfer for the 3rd child. I honestly feel like it's like my 2nd child because it's a 2nd pregnancy, but we never expected it to work on the first try. We had kind of talked about what would happen if it didn't work, and that's kind of why we started this process earlier than we kind of expected. We were going to start in January, but we figured if it didn't work, we'd start now. So I was like, it's okay if it doesn't work, but obviously you always have your hopes up. So I clicked the transcript, and I just saw the number 164, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I never expected it to work. So we were definitely excited. I was a little bit nervous with my twins. This was at 10 days past the transfer. So 10 days past 5-day transfer. So if you do IVF or have done IVF or are going to do IVF, you know that means that your embryo is 5 days old when it was frozen. So it's 10 days past a 5-day transfer or 15 days past ovulation. On a normal person, it's like the same day. So with the twins, it was 367. This was 164. I know that people say that the HCG level does not indicate multiples, but I also knew it was okay that it was less because sometimes it is more when you're having multiples. But anyway, my most traumatic miscarriage, my HCG was 161 at 10 days. So I was still nervous because it wasn't that much higher, but I just felt different. I have been pregnant before. I've had a successful pregnancy and delivery before. I just kind of knew that it felt different, but they brought me back 2 days later to retest. So that was 12 days. And at that point, you want your HCG to double typically every 48 hours. If it doubles every 48 to 72 hours, you're still kind of like in the running. And if it doesn't double, I have plenty of people that I'm friends with in my fertility Instagram community that their betas do not double and they go on to have healthy pregnancies, but it is a good sign if it doubles. And I distinctly remember I was at Target in the parking lot. It was a Wednesday because my mother-in-law takes my kids on Wednesdays. Sometimes I work. More often than not, I take the day to myself because that's very important too. And I was like, I let it go to voicemail again. I was like, okay, if it's bad news, I'm getting myself like a Starbucks or something with a lot of caffeine and it's fine, you know? So I clicked on the transcript and then I ended up listening to the call and my HCG was 488, which is fantastic. And I don't do the math in my head. If you Google beta HCG doubling calculator, there's tons of them out there where you can put in your days. They're specifically made for IVF, so you can put in your days past transfer, what day transfer it was, and your numbers. And mine had doubled in 31 hours, I think, or 30 hours, which was actually, my twins doubled in like 36 hours. So it's actually doubling faster. So I was really pleased with that number. And they basically said no more blood tests. I know I have friends that do IVF and their clinics bring them in for blood tests, multiple. Mine, if your second one looks good, they schedule you for a 7-week ultrasound. So I went for my 7-week ultrasound at the clinic, just a little baby. I specifically asked if there was just one. Again, if it would have split, because with my twins, we put in 2 embryos. This one, there was 1, and the only way there was a chance of twins is if it split. So they would have been identical twins. And I asked her and she's like, nope, definitely 1. So I got a call from the nurse practitioner afterwards and they discharged me to my OB, which was super weird because with my twins, I was at the fertility clinic a lot longer. They did a lot more ultrasounds. I also had a rather large subchorionic hematoma with the twins. So I bled at 6, 8, and like 11 weeks. So they had me come in a lot more before they discharged me. This one, I did have a small bleed. I remember I was in bed. My daughter was sleeping with us, which is so random and weird. She never sleeps with us. And I woke up and I knew something didn't feel right. There was red blood on my liner and I had a little one I wiped. By the time I woke up in the morning, it was gone. I went to work and I called. It was a Sunday and the nurse said, there's nothing, your numbers look great. There's nothing to indicate that there's a problem. We're just gonna wait till your ultrasound because we won't really see anything. They did see a small hematoma at the ultrasound, but I haven't, knock on wood, had a problem since. So I had an intake with my OB and at 8 weeks, and she actually told me that, and I find this very common, that another ultrasound was not indicated because I've already had one, but because of my past with recurrent miscarriage, she would schedule me for one. So I got a 9-week and 3-day ultrasound. I'll show you. Their ultrasound machine is not nearly as good as the fertility clinic, but that was a 9-week ultrasound. Everything looked great. So I've been to the OB a few times. I'm now 18 weeks. What's really strange for me is now when I go to the clinic, the OB clinic, they literally just do a Doppler and I won't get another ultrasound till 20 weeks when I do my anatomy scan. It's strange because when I had twins, they did an ultrasound at every visit because they couldn't be 100% sure that they were hearing both babies on the Doppler or the same baby twice. So it's been an adjustment. I don't get nearly the amount of ultrasounds. I don't get nearly the amount of visits, but honestly, I am much more relaxed with this pregnancy. I know what pregnancy feels like. I just feel like because I've had a successful pregnancy, I'm much more relaxed. I did deliver the twins at 33 weeks. Keegan's water broke. He was baby B, which is, they told me it's rather rare for your water to break before you go into labor, and it's rare for baby B's water to break. Baby A was came up first, and it was rare for the second one to break. We went over my history. I didn't have preeclampsia. I had no real issues. So they honestly feel like the reason the water broke is just because the babies ran out of room. At 33 weeks, I was measuring like 45 weeks. So they don't see any reason why I can't carry a baby to term, that it was literally just they ran out of space. So I'm grateful for that. A negative is I had gestational diabetes with the twins. They were unsure whether I just had gestational diabetes or because I really don't have any risk factors for gestational diabetes, it was likely because I had twins and they just don't know. I will say I was devastated and I did a lot of research. And if you have gestational diabetes, it has nothing to do with your weight, what you eat, your lifestyle. It has everything to do with the placenta and the way things are processed. So you don't have to feel like I have gestational diabetes and it means that I am unhealthy. It does not. But because of that, they had me do the 1 hour glucose test at 12 weeks and I failed it. So they had me do the 3 hour. The 1 hour really just weeds people out and the 3 hour is more diagnostic. And if you've done it, it's gross. It's the only good news about the 3 hours, they let me sit in the back and I just watched movies. I had a feeling I would pass the 3 hour. At first I was like, I'm gonna fail it. I have gestational diabetes. It is what it is. At least I know what to do. I had a feeling I was not gonna fail it during my third blood draw when I was shaky, lightheaded, and I knew my blood sugar had totally tanked. So I passed the 3 hour. I do not have gestational diabetes this early, which is super great for the holidays, not having to worry. The negative is I have to redo the 3 hour test at like 24, 25 weeks. So I'm not looking forward to redoing it, but it is what it is. If I have it, I do. I know how to deal with it. It's fine. I just don't like that I have to redo it. Also, because of that, having gestational diabetes last time and my doctor wasn't sure my results at the time, and because I did IVF, I'm seeing maternal fetal medicine for my anatomy scan at 20 weeks. So that's kind of where we stand.